Hey guys, in this week's Casual Cinecast, we are going to count down each of our most anticipated films of 2025. But before that, we're going to talk a little bit about The Gorge, Captain America, Brave New World, and Season 3 of The White Lotus. So join us!
Hello and welcome to the Casual Cinecast powered by Cinelinx, the show where we talk about the TV and movies we've been watching, as well as do a deep dive review of a current movie or a classic film from the Criterion Collection as voted on by the listener. My name is Justin, and with me as always is Mike. Mike, 2 weeks in a row, we're just killing it, aren't we?
Yeah, we're breezing through this thing.
Yeah. I'm so proud of us.
Through the raindrops. This is not slowing down at all. I don't even know where to go with that, but yeah.
No. How you doing this week, Mike?
Good. Good. It's actually extremely cold where I'm at, which is Dallas, Texas. It says it feels like 9 degrees outside.
Wow.
I know.
I'm jealous of that, personally. I mean, it's cold here. I'm in Houston, so not that far from you, but we haven't hit the most intense part of the cold yet. But I'm jealous of 9, and I hope we get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like unless you're going out in the cold, I feel like anything below freezing will work if your goal is to stay home. I don't feel like it needs to feel like 9 degrees outside. I feel like I can enjoy 32 degrees just as much as I can enjoy something lower. But I hope you get there too if you're looking forward to it that much.
I am. But yeah, I mean, I stay home anyways, regardless, most days. So the weather doesn't affect me except when I go outside, and I like wearing hoodies, right? And I like wearing sweatshirts over just like t-shirts. Yeah. It's more comfortable.
I'm with you there. I like wearing jackets and coats more often, and we don't get to do it nearly enough in Texas, at least justifiably.
We do not. Like recently, I've had to talk myself out of and scale back on buying hoodies. Like, and jackets and stuff, I have to...
Yeah, because you only need them like 5 months out of the year.
If that.
Max.
Yeah. And a good year, 5 months, right? Most years, I'd say 3 months on average out of the year. But it has to be like a really special hoodie, you know, like either a band I really like or just some crazy design that I haven't seen that really speaks to me or something, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Except now I've kind of, haven't even worn a hoodie in months because I actually had to break down and buy a warm coat.
Oh.
I know.
I've
been wearing that for a couple months. And pretty soon it'll be too hot for it.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad.
Yeah, I have like one heavy. But anyways, this is a film podcast, so maybe not a jacket one.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to know how you feel about jackets.
Yeah, thank you. Same.
Yeah. Okay. You ready to get the show on the road?
Yeah, let's do it. Got a lot to talk about.
All right.
You on the march!
Okay.
All right, so now that we are in News on the March, Justin, you have the first thing on the docket. This is something I believe you have seen that I have not.
Yes.
But I did see a trailer for it, and I do know what it is, and I am intrigued to hear what you think of this. So, please, Justin, what did you watch recently?
Yeah, so it's I don't know if it's the newest, but one of the newer Apple TV Plus films, The Gorge, which is starring Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. And it's got Sigourney Weaver here on the poster, but she's in this so minimally that I question that decision, other than it gets metaphorical rear ends and seats, right?
I guess so, probably.
Older ones, right?
Yeah.
Like older rear ends.
Yeah, I doubt it's bringing in Gen Z.
No. But like Alien fans, I guess, but and Ghostbuster fans, that sort of thing. Anyways, so I haven't seen the trailer, so I don't really know. I just watched it because I was like, okay, Miles Teller, Anya Taylor-Joy. This seems, I don't know, whatever. Like I honestly have not really watched any of the Apple TV Plus exclusives that I can think of. Maybe Napoleon, if that was one.
I watched Wolves.
Wolves?
And Irishman. No, not Irishman. That was Netflix.
That was Netflix,
Killers
yeah.
of the Flower Moon was Apple.
Okay.
But they actually gave that a proper release, so it felt like a real movie.
Yeah, both of those had real releases, and this is, I guess, one of the ones, at least to my knowledge, was like straight to Apple Plus, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, it may have gotten like a limited theatrical thing.
Yeah, but like Wolves and Fly Me to the Moon and these sort of things, like, I never hear good things, but I was like, I just curious what the quality is like. So I tried to jump on this one early so I could maybe be part of the conversation. So I didn't know much about it or anything. So it was definitely a journey to me. And like I said, I'm not sure what all is in the trailer, but the premise of the film is there's a giant gorge with some sort of secret thing in there that can't be let out of the gorge. So there's a tower on opposing sides. There's two towers like on opposing sides of the gorge, right? And each one has one person in it designed to like watch and keep the like auto turrets and the mines functional to like safeguard from whatever's in this gorge from getting out. And of course, Miles Teller's in one. Anya Taylor-Joy plays like a Russian agent on the other. And they aren't supposed to talk to each other, but of course they do, and blah blah blah. Which I thought was like an intriguing enough concept, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know that like I really love this movie, but I thought it was pretty like easy to watch and pretty entertaining enough, and it did go some places that I didn't expect, and like not necessarily story wise, but just this sort of I guess like creepy dark area that the show went to, right? Like in terms of what's in the gorge kind of surprised me and was unexpected. So you've seen the trailer, right? So does it give much away about what's in there?
I can't remember if it gives away what's in there or not, but it did feel like the trailer hinted at maybe some sort of conspiracy of sorts that they start to uncover.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of apparent to me from like the images, was that it was like, what are they actually guarding down? What's down there? You know,
what's really going on?
Yeah, and there's certainly that, but even like I was pleasantly surprised once you see what's in the gorge and get down, like really get down in there, and dig into it. And I thought
when they
that
really
was
get down
cool.
in that gorge, it's interesting.
Yeah. So that was surprising to me, and that's worth something, I think, to just kind of keep me like, oh, okay, yeah, all right,
yeah.
Like I saw this coming, but I didn't necessarily see this coming exactly. You know?
Okay. All right.
And it was directed by Scott Derrickson, who did
that was
Doctor
my next
Strange.
question. I was about to ask you. Someone of note directed this, I believe, and I like Scott Derrickson. He did the first Doctor Strange, and then he also did a little horror movie a couple years ago with Ethan Hawke called The Black Phone.
Right, I haven't seen that, but it's good.
Yeah,
based on
I
your
enjoyed
tone
The Black
there?
Phone. I mean, it's not great, but it's pretty good. It's a decent little horror movie, you know.
Yeah, I remember. Well, he did the Day the Earth Stood Still remake with Keanu Reeves, which is maybe less good, from my recollection.
Which one?
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Did Scott Derrickson do that? Yeah, it's not great.
And I haven't seen it since theaters, but The Exorcism of Emily Rose, I remember enjoying, at least from like a courtroom drama standpoint, if not a horror standpoint.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about that movie, but I did see it in theaters.
Yeah,
I remember like courtroom stuff. There's a scene in a barn or something.
It's literally my exact recollection of it. But I remember enjoying that one well enough at the time. But granted, I was young and I went there to be scared with like a date, right?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, The Exorcism of Emily Rose isn't exactly like a horror first kind of movie.
No, it definitely felt like a courtroom movie, which surprised me pleasantly because I get scared kind of easily about that sort of stuff. So I was like, let's go back to the courtroom and just talk about these things, please.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway,
cool. The Gorge. So it's like a recommend from you?
I think it's a soft recommend if you've got, you know, nothing else and you're just looking for something to watch and can't really decide. Like it's a relatively easy film. I think some of the plot points are a bit bit forced and a bit underdeveloped. But I mean, I don't have to go into it, but too deep. But like, you stick a man and a woman isolated for a year together, the plot's going to go in certain directions, right? and I don't know that they completely nail that aspect of the movie. Other than it's two incredibly good-looking people alone together, right? Like, it works in that sense.
Okay, cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 7 minutes, so not even very long.
Would you have wanted to add more runtime for more character development in that regard?
I think so. Like, I would be fine with it.
Like 5-10 more minutes of
nothing crazy
to help build it up a little bit.
It doesn't need to be like a series that needed 8 episodes to play out, But yeah, 10 minutes maybe of a little bit more development. I mean, they do an okay job, but it's just it feels a bit forced.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but yeah, soft recommend The Gorge.
All right, cool.
Think it's just fine.
It's adequate.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll leave that one there, and we can move on to the next topic, which is yours, a film you've seen that I have not.
Yeah, so I subscribe to the A-list thing from AMC where you get multiple movies a week and you just pay a monthly fee,
Yes.
And my fiance went out of town this weekend to go visit her dad. So I went to go see Captain America Brave New World, which,
all right,
of course, is the newest Captain America movie, the first one starring Anthony Mackie, and Harrison Ford joining the MCU, replacing William Hurt, who died last year or the year before?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
2 years ago now? 3 years ago? I don't know. What
Time's
is time?
weird, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, all to say, this movie is, another MCU movie. I feel like it's not particularly bad, but, it's not great. I think it's better than, like, Ant-Man 3 or, in my opinion, personally speaking, I would prefer to watch Captain America Brave New World again over any of the Ant-Man movies.
Okay.
So that's kind of where, it's like completely middle of the road MCU, I think. Now, I think for some people that's starting to be diminishing returns, hence the critic score and the audience score.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's, I don't think it's a train wreck either. I feel like it's pretty, pretty middle of the road. It's the least good Captain America movie. But I'd rather watch it than most Thor movies,
Yeah, the Captain America movies are some of the better ones, I'd say. But isn't that in some ways the Marvel thing that even at its worst, it's still middle of the road? I don't know. Maybe,
yeah, it feels like there's
wrong.
a thing kind of like with these big tentpole franchises that if something's not really good, it's considered terrible.
Exactly.
By in the cultural conversation, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I think that's just maybe a sign of fatigue with the franchise in general. But maybe not. I don't know. It feels like there's just no nuance there. Because I think realistically, Captain America Brave New World's not great. I think it suffered a lot from reshoots and kind of a troubled production. But it doesn't feel like a Frankenstein movie either that's kind of stitched together to get you something that passes. It feels like a coherent story,
Yeah.
I will say I miss the Riz of the early Marvel days. It is kind of missing that magic of the first run up until Infinity War Endgame, Maybe there's just
absolutely.
Not a momentum to the current. It doesn't feel like an Avengers movie is shooting next year, It feels like we haven't really gotten to a point where it starts to all come together,
Yeah. Maybe I'm out of the loop too, but it has lost that appointment viewing sort of feel too. Nothing feels super crucial to me yet.
Yeah.
I think maybe it will as we get closer to the end.
Right.
There'll be this
I think
desire
Fantastic
to catch
Four
up.
coming out later this year, I think, will probably help with that.
Yeah. So until it is, it's kind of not for me, right? Like I think it's lost
Right.
that flair.
Right. But it feels like, I think, and Disney understands this too, with both Marvel and Star Wars, it felt like there was just too much content in a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there was like 3 or 4 years there, especially under Bob Chapek when Disney Plus first started, that I think the mandate was, let's get content on Disney Plus. And now I think they've started to reel the amount of stuff back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's wise, because some of these franchises, like, they aren't meant for just endless content like Disney wants to use them for,
Right. Yeah. There's that spell where we were getting like 3 to 4 movies and 2 to 3 TV series a year.
Yeah, that's insane. And like, I think it starts to show diminishing returns. And so, whatever. I would say, like, I enjoyed this movie more than I enjoyed most of the Disney Plus shows that MCU has offered. But I'm pretty. I don't know. I wouldn't say forgiving, because like, I see the problems. I just don't really. It's fine. I've just invested this much time in it. I'll keep watching for now. It hasn't gotten so bad that I'm ready to not watch it at all. But,
Yeah.
But maybe wait for Disney Plus. I don't feel like this is like a theater's must go to see it on the big screen kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get from it. But I know what you mean. Like, it's gonna have to truly be bad and sink to some really low levels to justify calling it bad for you, right?
Yeah,
and
like Secret Invasion. That's an MCU thing that I think is dreadful.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely dreadful.
That's funny. I haven't seen that one, but I never heard good things about it. So
yeah,
nothing that drove me to it.
Well, you're not missing a damn thing. But anyways, that's really the extent of my thoughts on the new Captain America. Not great, but it feels better than I feel like the online reaction says. But that makes me feel like I'm defending it, and I'm really not either.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the sort of like polarized extreme opinion world, it's hard to I guess like push back against certain opinions without being seen as like a stand for something, right? Like you can't be like, come on,
exactly,
like let's Captain America's not that bad, and we're like, oh, so you love Captain America then? You thought it was great and amazing and like
so
better
Mike
than
clearly
Citizen
liked
Kane.
it, and I, on the other hand, don't like trash, so I didn't like it. Yeah. That kind of that's how the discussion goes. But I feel like it's aggressively in the middle of the road for the MCU.
Cool. And you know what? That might be fine at the end of the day, right? Like once this phase or saga culminates wherever it's going,
right?
That might be
maybe
fine.
The stepping stone that was this movie will feel a little better.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, this is all obviously really great, but like it really started building, or this thing that happened in Brave New World is the thing that is really important.
I will say that before we get off the subject of this movie completely, that yes, I agree with you. And also, did you ever watch The Eternals?
Yes.
Okay. So this movie is the first time that they've actually acknowledged the third act of The Eternals, where the big hand and head start coming out of the earth in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. I think I saw that briefly in like a trailer clip that was playing somewhere. Like I watched the trailer, but like just images were flashing on some website or something.
Yeah.
And I saw that in the trailer and I was like, oh, look, they're there. So that does intrigue me.
Yeah. In that sense, it does feel like it's starting to kind of rein things in a little bit and make it feel like it's worth paying attention to these things.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they need to strike this right balance where it feels like it's rewarding your investment, but also it's not unrewarding if you haven't been keeping up. They have to walk that line, and it feels like they've been kind of going too far in one direction or the other. So it's it's a tightrope walk, I guess, but I did enjoy finally starting to reference things that have been happening over the past 5 or 6 years since this new phase has started.
Right. Maybe this is the beginning of Eternals feeling like that early stepping stone. That's super important.
Yeah, that movie could really use some help.
Yeah.
Because it feels like kind of all on its own there, you know?
Yeah, it's the redheaded stepchild or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Okay, anyway, that's enough about the MCU and Captain America. All right, next thing on the docket. I believe we've both seen this, right?
Yes.
All right. And this is, of course, The White Lotus, Season 3, Episode 1, which is all that is out by the time we are recording this.
Yeah.
So, Justin, real quick, briefly, what's your opinion on White Lotus Seasons 1 and 2? And then how do you think Season 3, Episode 1 held up?
Well, I really liked Season 1 and Season 2. I don't know if I have strong opinions about which one is better than the other. I thought they were both just really good and about on par with each other. Maybe the second season made me laugh more. I don't know. Maybe it seemed a little bit more comedically inclined.
Okay.
But I may be misremembering because I saw Season 1 of White Lotus when it came out and not again since. This one so far I think has felt, I feel like I don't know much, right? Like they all have that cold open of Episode 1 where we see that something,
a crime has been committed.
Yeah, a crime, tragedy,
usually someone dies somehow.
Yeah.
It's a mystery for the most of the season.
Yeah, there's a vague body that we don't know who it is and sets up the idea that we're going to be watching the season trying to figure out who it is, who's going to die and how so, and who else that we've met is going to be involved. So it seems very on par so far with Season 3, I think, and just setting up the characters, and that's what this first episode has done more than send us in any real plot direction that I feel. We just kind of got to know everybody, and for that,
it feels like it's just putting pieces on the board.
Exactly, and for that, I would say I enjoyed it. I think the location looks great. They're in Thailand this time, so the scenery is cool. Some characters walk down to like a Buddhist temple at one point, and I thought that was, I don't know, it was good looking to me.
I like how there's a beginning scene where a character runs up to a Buddha statue and starts praying to Jesus.
Yeah. That was funny.
And that made me laugh.
Yeah. There's some good humorous moments in this so far. There are some vague character connections that we've established, like from previous seasons. That's fun. People that are fun to see again. But yeah, so far I enjoyed it, even though I think there's not much to really judge it too harshly one way or the other yet. Where are you at?
I think I'm right there with you. I really enjoyed Season 1 and 2. I watched them as they came out, or I feel like a few episodes of Season 1 had built up before I finally started watching it, but immediately was hooked. It's very funny. It feels like adult comedy. You know, this is the kind of stuff that HBO has always done so well, is just this really engaging adult entertainment. Mike White, I think is really great at this. I mean, it feels like he's found something that people really like and that he's good at. And he's got a funny voice, and he sounds like a smart guy when you hear him talk. I'm with you that I think Season 1 and 2 are about on par in my eyes. I don't know how I feel yet. It's mostly setting pieces on the board, like you said. But I will say that some of the characters feel a little, I don't know, a little too much. I don't know if I've acclimated just yet. Like, I don't know if I'm crazy about whatever Parker Posey is doing.
It's a choice. It's something.
It is a choice, yeah. And normally I really like her, so hopefully I'll come around on it and kind of acclimate to whatever's going on. But it feels pretty, I don't know, cartoony.
Yeah. But she feels like maybe she's filling the void of Jennifer Coolidge's Jennifer Coolidge-ness is the only way I know to, to describe
maybe
it.
Like we need like a, I don't know.
Well, it's big. Jennifer Coolidge is big, but like that's the beauty of what she does in her is that she pulls it off earnestly.
Yeah, this weird, like, drunken airheadedness.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like it's the way she plays characters that, the light's on, but no one's home in a way.
Yeah, like you don't really know how much she's processing or isn't.
Yeah. And she's brilliant at it. And I think maybe it does remain to be seen whether or not Parker Posey's going to pull that off. And maybe that's not. That's just kind of my interpretation, is that, like, because that's what I was thinking going in, is like, who's going to fill the Jennifer Coolidge gap that we had? We had her in season 1 and 2, and
right.
I think she was a big part of the show.
She felt like the staple of the show, and now it feels like maybe her plot line is going to be the ongoing arc. Maybe like, exploring what happened to her, possibly, because there are 2 characters that knew her from season 1 who are now in this season.
Yeah, I did have a thought.
I feel like one character is going to maybe start being suspicious of another character.
Yeah. Did we get anything that specifically told us that we are, that season 3 is chronological, like taking place after season 2?
No, I don't think anything has stated that yet, but I believe based on the reaction of one character seeing another character, that is what is happening.
Okay.
But I don't know yet.
Maybe so. Maybe I didn't quite pick up on that, but I did have a thought about that at some point. But that, like, because there's the sort of massage therapist woman who's here in season 3, and seems like she's there to learn, like, a method. And in my head, I was like, oh, is she learning the method that, like, she used on Jennifer Coolidge in season 1 that endeared her, But
right.
That may be greatly overthinking it.
Yeah, maybe. I think, though, based on what happens whenever she saw who.
Yes.
That she is now going to be like, wait a minute, I remember reading about what happened to so-and-so, and last I saw this guy,
Yeah, I think that's probably correct, because this also just doesn't seem like the type of show that's like, we're gonna screw with time and jumping around out of chronological order.
They could one day, who knows? It's like, who knows how much of a web and tapestry this thing's gonna, like, interconnected thing this is all gonna make before it's all said and done. Feels pretty mostly standalone right now, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 characters every season.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost anthology, but with just I think more than just loose threads.
Yeah, kind of like Fargo.
Sure, I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen it.
Indeed. At least some seasons of Fargo. But anyway, cool. Yeah, we'll be there for the rest of the season. Off to a pretty good start so far, but I am a little nervous that some of these characters may not have the same watchability.
Yeah.
or what, or something. I don't know, but we'll see. It's a little early yet.
Yeah, they're less memorable and less interesting so far. So we'll see where it goes. It is cool to see the one of the lead actors from Gen V pop up.
Oh yeah,
it was the older brother of the weird family, Parker Posey's family. Yeah,
that family is weird, and I am interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, but time will tell. I'm sure we'll catch back up when this is all said and done. We'll follow up in a News on the March, right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
I'll be there.
You better be, otherwise it's gonna be me talking into a microphone, probably, and no one wants that.
Someone might.
Okay,
know that?
If you say so. But all right, moving on out of News on the March.
Yeah, let's do it.
Most anticipated films of 2025.
Let's do it.
Think how good it's going to taste when it finally gets there. It's slow good. It's keeping me waiting.
All right, Mike, we are here in our most anticipated films of 2025. So the way this is going to work, I know you know, Mike, but for the listener's sake, we're each going to list off our 10 most anticipated films, not in any particular order. These aren't ranked, 10 to 1. They're just going to go through and name them. So we have 2 separate lists. I don't know what's on your list. You don't know mine, but if you name a film that's on mine, I'll say it, but we don't have to do like we do on our best of, where we have to stop and hold the conversation because
these are not ranked.
Exactly. So with those ground rules laid out, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I will go ahead and start with a movie that opens next month, less than a month from now. So I'll go ahead and get this one in, and that is Mickey 17.
Yes.
Directed by Bong Joon-ho, and it stars Robert Pattinson, Stephen Yeun, Toni Collette, and a bunch of other people. I think it's got a pretty stacked cast. But you know about this movie, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, this was actually on my most anticipated last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But I think it got delayed or something.
Yeah,
it was supposed to come out
there's
last
been
year.
some fuckery with the studio. Word is on the street that it had strong word of mouth, but the studio doesn't know how to market it or what to do with it.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what stage it was in either, because I very specifically remember knowing nothing about the movie and being like, well, it's Bong Joon-ho's next project, and it stars Robert Pattinson, who's been doing interesting things, and that was like the gist of my anticipation.
Yeah, that's pretty much most of the movies on my list. It's just that's what I know about them is the director and the actor.
Yeah, same. There's going to be more of that this year. So hopefully those films will come out in 2025, but sometimes they don't, and this one was.
So it's not on your list this year, huh?
No, because it was on my list last year.
Lost your enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, I've been waiting too long.
The anticipation has dwindled.
Yeah. But no, I am with you now that I know more about the film and I've seen a trailer for it. I think it looks really interesting, and of course Bong Joon-ho, what's not to be excited about? And the guy tends to nail it, at least with most things I've seen.
Yeah, everything I've seen has been interesting.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So what's your first movie that you want to talk about?
Okay. First up for me is a film called The Bride with an exclamation point. But to be honest, I don't really have an exclamation point voice, so I have to say the exclamation point out loud.
Okay.
But this is directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Okay, cool.
So I think it's kind of inspired by The Bride of Frankenstein. And going to be...
Oh, yes, okay. I've heard of this.
One of these sort of stories, but it has... I think I read somewhere that there's musical numbers and dance scenes in it, so maybe it's a bit of a musical, but I just heard that
Isn't her husband in this, Peter Skarsgård?
Yes, Sarsgaard.
Sarsgaard, excuse me.
Yeah. Yes, Peter Sarsgaard. It also has Jessie Buckley as the bride.
Heck yeah.
Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster. Penelope Cruz, Annette Bening, among other people. So, I don't know. It's just an interesting cast to me, and a very cool thing. And supposedly, it's just supposed to not really be like other Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein type movies, and it's supposed to get a little wacky. And of course, Jessie Buckley tends to always be great.
Yeah, she's very interesting.
But again, this is one that, I haven't seen anything for, and there's no official release date for. So let's just hope it comes out this year, because it sounds cool.
All right, cool. Let's hope. Here's to hoping.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your next one?
All right. So my next one is a film directed by Steven Soderbergh. And it's called Black Bag, and it stars Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett.
Love that already.
They play a married couple who are both have classified jobs, kind of like spies, where they can't be honest with each other, all the time.
Sure, it's like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith sort of situation.
Right, but they both know that, and they both seem to be happily married. But also, it's sort of like when things start going crazy, then how much can you actually trust them not to be your enemy on a mission, Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like it looks like a cat and mouse, like a serious Mr. and Mrs. Smith, maybe.
Right.
But it's got that kind of Steven Soderbergh look where like all the lights are kind of like overblown in the background, and You know what I mean? Like the camera looks like it's just sort of like not particularly well lit, but that's kind of his thing now.
Yeah, just seems to be more interested in seeing what you can do with a minimal amount of things.
Yeah. So I don't know really if this is going to be any good or not, but the trailer looked cool. So I'm sold.
Okay, there's a trailer out?
Yeah, there's a trailer out. It came out like a month ago or something, but it looks like something that you might enjoy too. It looks like a little bit of maybe Gone Girl mixed with Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Beautiful. No, I'm intrigued. I'm on board. Black Bag, you said, right?
Yeah, Black Bag.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm up next, right?
You are.
Nobody else here. I don't know why I asked that, but... Okay, so the next one is I wanted to squeeze an animated film on here. And I don't know much about the Pixar content that's coming out. Like, it didn't really look like that exciting to me.
Sure.
But I found this film by director Sylvain Chomet. And he did The Triplets of Belleville, as well as The Illusionist, the animated film that includes like the Hulot character from Jacques Tati, and I think it was based on like a Jacques Tati unfinished script and sort of paid homage to him as well. Mm-hmm. But he did those two films, which I really liked a lot, and he supposedly has a new film coming out, and I think it's supposed to be out in 2025, but as all these like ones that we know less about are kind of vague, I guess that's up in the air. But yeah, it's about a French novelist and a playwright who grew up in France. So I think with his films, I tend to remember the characters and the moments more so than overall plot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of less interested in like what this is about specifically. Like there's a big long paragraph here on Letterboxd, but I almost don't care to read the whole thing. You know?
Yeah.
But basically he's kind of like after Triplets of Belleville and Illusionist, whatever he does next, which this is his next animated film from what I'm seeing. He hasn't done anything in between. And it's been, I don't know what, over 10 years since The Illusionist. Yeah. So this is his next thing and I'm here for it. But it's, I don't think I said the name. It's The Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol.
Okay. All right.
So there you go. Have you seen either of those movies? Triplets of Belleville?
I saw The Illusionist.
Okay.
Which was good.
Yeah, I like Triplets of Belleville better.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were into the vibe, like the animation style, and want a little bit more, like the animation style of his other stuff, it just feels a little bit more hand-drawn. Like it reminds me more of 101 Dalmatians style, like the original Disney one. That style of animation versus something newer. But this film, I don't know if he's following that same thing or not.
All right. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. But okay. Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol. What's your next one?
Okay, so my next one is a film that looks pretty interesting to me, and it is called Friendship.
Yeah, this one is on mine too.
Okay, cool. It stars, it's directed by Andrew DeYoung, and it stars Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. And it seems like it's sort of like a darker I Love You Man, which is a movie that could have used a little more drama, in my opinion. So we'll see. Maybe this will go places that I wanted from the other one, you know?
Sure, yeah. Maybe. Personally, I love I Love You Man. I think it's great.
Oh, okay. Good.
I think it's great as is, but I'm happy to see another sort of twist on that idea. Have you watched the trailer for it? Because it just came out recently and I watched it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So it does feel like I Love You Man, but with that sort of like A24 horror sort of vibe. Sort of like
that
suspense.
Weird Tim Robinson uncomfortable vibe.
Yeah. And he does seem similar to the characters that he plays in some of his I Think You Should Leave sketches. So I don't know that he's turning over any new leaves here, performance-wise.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see him in like a serious situation because the movie doesn't seem like it's really over the top like a sketch, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's curious to see it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the context of this movie.
Right. Like how big will he go, you know?
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to this one. I'm also very excited about it. Paul Rudd has a mustache in it.
Yeah. Looking cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so that one was on my list. So do you want to go ahead and do another one, or you want me to go to the next one?
Go ahead and go.
On my list here. Okay. All right, so this is a very classic, but not my most extreme example of I know the director of this film and therefore I'm excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a film called Materialists, which is kind of hard to say. Materialists. It's directed by Celine Song, who did Past Lives.
Yeah.
Which is a film I'm a really big fan of. I recently rewatched and grew even more appreciative of how good that movie is. But this stars Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans, and Dakota Johnson. Set in New York, it says a high-end matchmaker gets involved with a wealthy man, but still harbors feelings for the broke actor/waiter she left behind. So
sounds like Past Lives.
Yeah, it does. It does sound like a maybe getting into that what if-ness, or at least some sort of like triangle of feelings between people.
Mm-hmm.
So it does sound like somewhat familiar territory, but it's one of those things where, like, based on Past Lives, I'm going to be right there for whatever's next, right?
Sure. Yeah. I'm not dissuaded at all by the similarities.
No. Yeah. Maybe I'm even comforted by the similarities.
Maybe. Who
Yeah.
could know that?
I don't know.
All right, my turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay. So this is going to be very on brand for me. This is a film that actually does not have a title yet. It's called Untitled Paul Thomas Anderson Film.
Oh yeah, there's like rumored titles, but
yeah, there's like a battle of
right?
something.
Yeah,
something point or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's got like a working title, and usually his movies don't have titles for a long time, and then the rumored title ends up becoming the actual title of his movie. So,
right. Well,
that's what happened with The Master. So.
Yeah. To be fair, I would go see a film called Untitled Paul Thomas Anderson Film.
Yeah, he doesn't have to title it as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly, yeah.
But anyway, it stars Leonardo DiCaprio, which is exciting.
Yeah.
First time they've worked together.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He was going to be, or he wanted him for Dirk Diggler in the 90s, but that didn't happen. So now it'll be interesting to see Leonardo DiCaprio work with yet another great director. A little notch on the belt. But anyway, it also stars Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, both of which are good actors, even though I don't really like Sean Penn very much.
Well, who does?
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. Who keeps putting this guy in movies? I guess Paul Thomas Anderson does, but why?
Yeah, well, I don't know that. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of movies that I didn't necessarily like him in the context of the movie.
He's usually pretty great in movies.
Yeah.
If we're being real.
That could be a clue as to why.
Yeah.
He generally shows up and delivers.
Yeah.
But this is cool. So we don't know any like plot details. I thought I had something about it being based on a book or something, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, there's rumors that it's this is actually maybe gives me a little pause. There's rumors that it's based on like another Pynchon book.
Oh, like Inherent Vice?
Yeah. Battle of, what's it called? Of like Brigsby Point or something.
That sounds right.
I don't know. That probably isn't right, but it's something kind of like that is the rumored title. Should have looked it up, but oh well, here we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your next movie?
Backton Cross? The Battle of
Backton
Backton
Cross. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So I said it sounds right, but I was wrong. Okay. Well, we've clarified that up. But yeah, I'm with you. Any Paul Thomas Anderson, we're there for, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm up next, and continuing with the trend I've set so far, other than Friendship, I guess. This is another film from a director who had a recent movie that I liked, but this is called Sentimental Value. And this is from Joachim Trier, who is the director of The Worst Person in the World.
Yeah.
And they are reuniting with, I'm going to butcher the name, Renate Rinsby.
Yeah, we tried that last week. And
Yeah. Yeah, from Worst Person in the World and A Different Man. So it looks like Stellan Skarsgård is also in it. Elle Fanning.
Yes, this was almost on my list too, but then I got enough movies, so I stopped putting.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. So this looks like an actress and her sister are grieving the loss of their mother, and their father reappears in their life for the first time in a long time, and he's a former well-regarded film director, and he wants his actor daughter to be in his next film that's supposed to be his comeback film. That's the plot that I've gleaned. And I don't know, it doesn't really matter what it is, because I'm just like, hey, Worst Person in the World was great. Another one I recently rewatched. So I'm sold.
I haven't rewatched it, but I think about certain scenes from that movie pretty frequently.
Yeah, it's still great. I got the Criterion edition not too long ago, so I was finally able to bust that out, and looks great on Criterion as well. So
I have no doubt.
Well, cool. But yeah, that's all I know about the movie. So if you have no thoughts or questions, we can move on.
Yeah, no thoughts or questions other than I agree with you. Looks interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. My turn.
Yes.
All right. So my next movie, let's see, is a film from a director that I have been a fan of pretty much everything they've done. Some more than others, but I really like the director. I want good things for him, you know? So I am talking about The Running Man, directed by Edgar Wright.
Okay. I didn't realize that was
movie that
come
I
out
think
this year.
He kind of, I think just, I don't know, I guess ushered in. I think it was his idea, his vision, you know, to remake this movie, or maybe it's a closer adaptation of the novel than the Arnold Schwarzenegger one was, but it stars Glenn Powell and Josh Brolin, so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized this was supposed to come out this year, or it might have made it on my list. Maybe I missed it looking over other things.
Yeah, it's quite possible that maybe the list I looked at was old and it has been announced that it's not coming out this year, but I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it does, because I'm down for a new Edgar Wright movie. And with every Edgar Wright movie, there's always the hope that it hits the heights of some of his best work, right? Which are, his best work is, top tier for me, in my opinion.
Right, and even some of his work that's not top tier work, has some incredible filmmaking in it. I don't love Baby Driver, but I love a lot of things about Baby Driver. And when I watch it, I'm like, that was very impressive. The editing and the momentum of some of the car chases in that movie are really incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something worth the price of the ticket in an Edgar Wright film. Because I don't even love Scott Pilgrim,
But man, I love the way that movie is directed.
Yeah, I could watch it any day of the week. Just because of the filmmaking is endlessly fascinating to me. But the movie itself, I don't love it, but it's one I can revisit anytime. And I think a lot of his films are like that. There's that value there of going back to it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I haven't gone back to a lot of his movies recently, but I would. If anyone wanted to put on an Edgar Wright movie, I'd watch any of them right now.
Right. You want to stop this?
Yeah. In fact, I do. Let's take a time out.
I'll drive up there. Yeah, give me 4 hours. I'll be there. Okay.
All right, cool. So, Running Man. Justin, what's your next movie?
All right. So next is a film for which a trailer exists, and I've seen it. So a little more detailed than the previous ones. But this is one, I've seen this trailer now I saw it in front of The Brutalist, and I believe it's an A24 film if I remember correctly. But it has Willem Dafoe and Emily Watson and Finn Wolfhard, and the lead is a girl whose name I don't know Helena Zingel. I'm not sure I've seen her before.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but this is The Legend of Ochi.
It is A24.
Yeah, okay. Cool. I mean, I didn't know about this film at all. I hadn't even heard of it. And like I said, I saw the trailer, I think for the first time in front of Nosferatu.
Okay.
And then The Brutalist. And I'm impressed by it. I think it looks really great. It has almost a sort of like a David Lowery vibe to it, like the visuals and the tone. But mixed with sort of like E.T., right? It's this girl who maybe it's like or How to Train Your Dragon, right? Where like this town and area lives in fear of these creatures, and she finds a lost baby one, and then develops an attachment to it. And I'm sure, the us versus them sort of mentality is challenged of this area, right? But it seems very sweet. It seems very well shot and well made. And I think it does, other than maybe some things like what's it called? Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. It seems like it's dipping into some A24 territory that's a bit uncharted with this sort of like family adventure.
Right. Yeah, it struck me too. It felt like Gremlins meets E.T., yeah, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, with like, I mean, as far as I could tell in the trailer, the CG looks good, and it seems really well shot to me, too, like above average. Not that I'm saying above average against like Spielberg and E.T., but for modern films of that ilk.
Right.
Not gonna criticize Spielberg at all. But okay, yeah, Legend of Ochi. I think it looks good and heartwarming.
Yeah. Cute.
All right. So what's your next one?
Okay, so my next one, I'm going to switch gears and go for a little bit of a bigger movie. Also very on brand for me, and that is going to be Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Yes.
Directed by Christopher McQuarrie, stars Tom Cruise and all the Mission Impossible gang. All the boys from Mission Impossible.
This one's not on my list, but more so just because I knew it would be on your list.
Yeah, and I didn't really like the last Mission Impossible that much. It was okay, but probably one of my lesser favorite Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this one can kind of course correct a little bit, and I don't know. The trailer looks great. The stunts in the trailer look really incredible. I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Hope it's good.
Yeah.
I see some tie-ins in the trailer. I see some tie-ins with both Mission Impossible 1 and Mission Impossible 3. There's maybe more, but I know for sure that there are tie-ins to the Mission Impossible 1 and 3, and I'm really wondering like what's going to happen that's going to necessitate those connections,
Right, yeah. And the first part, or Dead Reckoning, very much felt like half a movie, right?
Yeah.
So it is hard to feel too strongly about that one, and I'm looking forward to wrapping that up, like finishing out the story. I think more than I loved Dead Reckoning part 1 so much. Is it? It's not part 1 anymore, right? It's just called Dead Reckoning.
Yeah, now it's just Dead Reckoning,
Okay.
and then instead of this being Dead Reckoning part 2, this is now The Final Reckoning.
Yeah. So rather than how much I love Dead Reckoning makes me excited for The Final Reckoning, I just I'm ready to finish the story and see how I feel about it overall, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So next for me is a film that I think just got a release date, which, if I remember correctly, is late May. But this is the new Wes Anderson movie.
Oh.
The Phoenician Scheme.
Okay, cool.
Which is a very Wes Anderson title.
All right.
But
It does feel like a very Wes Anderson title. And I bet it will feel like a Wes Anderson movie, if I had to guess about it.
I would bet so. If it doesn't, it'll be the shock of all shocks. And
It'll be the first one.
Yeah. The first one, since he's had the budget to be ultra Wes Anderson, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even Bottle Rocket has its hints of it, right? But anyways, that would also catapult the film to my number one, even though we're not doing rankings. If it suddenly,
but officially, this is your number one.
No, only if the trailer comes out and it doesn't look anything like a Wes Anderson movie, then it's my number one. Right?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, the cast is Benicio del Toro, Michael Cera, Bryan Cranston, Scarlett Johansson, Benedict Cumberbatch, Riz Ahmed, Tom Hanks, Bill Murray, Jeffrey Wright, Richard Ayoade. A ton of people. I'm leaving people off.
He's keeping a lot of the ones that worked with him on those short films, the Netflix short films.
Yeah. Rupert Friend, I believe, is from those as well.
Yep.
Did I say Jeffrey Wright? If I didn't, I meant to. Jeff Goldblum, Charlotte Gainsbourg. I mean, the cast just keeps going on and on and on.
I love it. This is great.
Yeah. So there's not much note. There's not even a poster on Letterboxd for it, right? It just says The Phoenician Scheme, even though it's coming out in May. So I'm sure details will come soon. The film sounds like a mystery.
Hopefully it's maybe it's like a mystery, or I don't know. I'm speculating.
Yeah, well, it says a dark tale of espionage on the Letterboxd description.
That could be considered mystery.
So yeah, I think you're not far off. Whatever intuition
like a little
is
Wes
giving...
Anderson, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever intuition is giving you that those feelings, go with it, lean into it because it's working.
All right. I love it.
All
cool.
right.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. This was announced, I feel like just a couple of days ago. So
yeah, I didn't know about it. Otherwise, it probably would have made my list.
Yeah. But okay, what's the next one that did make your list?
Let's see. What is it? Okay, I got one here. This is a film from a director that I mostly really enjoy. Like whenever he hits great. Some of his movies don't always hit, though. But I don't know that any of the movies I've seen of his are dreadful either. And I'm talking about Danny Boyle, and I'm talking about 28 Years Later.
Yeah. This is on my honorable mentions, but not quite my 10.
Have you seen the trailer for it yet?
I have, and it's unsettling.
Yeah, it looks good. I don't know. I like the idea of continuing from the first movie, seeing where it all went. I hear that this is going to be the first start of a new trilogy. Like there's 3 of them planned, and Alex Garland has returned to write all of them. And Danny Boyle is directing this one and the third one. And the next one, I can't remember who's directing that one.
I can't remember either, but
she directed something else.
Okay, I'll kind of look it up here, but
okay, I'll keep talking.
I thought that I saw that the second one is not that far away, like later this year even.
Yeah, I think the first 2 have already been filmed, and then the third
Temple
one
is the second one. The Bone Temple is the second one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, keep talking. I'm looking up this director.
Yeah, so anyways, Danny Boyle's returning. He did not direct 28 Weeks Later. It's unclear at this point whether 28 Weeks Later is going to be considered canon to these movies.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it's exciting because I don't know when the last time you watched 28 Days Later is. But
it's been a while, but I last time I did, I really loved it still.
It's so good. Like the final act of 28 Days Later is crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
Like the score, I hope the score for this one is like equally, I don't know, impactful.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting that they were not only coming back for just one movie, but they were ambitious enough and had a story for 3 movies and decided to just go for it.
Yeah, I like that idea of like announcing like we've got a sort of like 3-film arc here. And
yeah.
The confidence that gives.
Right,
rather
and
than
Alex Garland like wanting to come back and you know put his stamp on the franchise after not wanting to return with Weeks Later, you know?
Yeah.
And Alex Garland as a writer is like if you look at that guy's stuff that he's just written alone, my God.
Yeah.
Like so
it's
many
impressive.
yeah, it's just like, I don't know that anyone has had like, just like the prolific nature of like how much he does versus the quality. It's a lot of hits, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of work, the director of the second one is Nia DaCosta, and she has directed The Marvels and the 2021 Candyman.
Okay, yes. I didn't like the 2021 Candyman, but I almost did. That movie had some pretty significant third act issues.
Yeah.
That kind of like undercut the rest of the movie, but
yeah.
I am excited, hopefully, that she directs something good here, because I feel like even though The Marvels was okay, she needs a win after that movie.
Sure, yeah. After The Marvels?
Yeah, after The Marvels.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm pulling for her.
Yeah. So anyway, 28 years later, looks cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, shot on an iPhone, like an iPhone 15 or something like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of extra like lenses and aftermarket stuff on there, but it was filmed through an iPhone.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's fitting because I mean, the first one kind of went out on a limb shooting on like DV tape or something, right?
Yeah, the first one looks like absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
But
that doesn't matter.
It kind of gives it that grainy. I don't know. I like it. Like the first one has such a raw, kind of grindhousey vibe to it that feels really cool.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure the decision to do like the iPhone on this one is in that same spirit.
Yeah. Well, Danny Boyle's always trying creative stuff. Like it may not always work, but he's a very like creative director, I think.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Interested in pushing some sort of boundary or testing out something.
Interesting camera angles. I don't know. Interesting ways of telling the story. He's always trying new stuff. So this iPhone thing, it may not work. It may end up looking like shit. People may reject it, but I don't know. Well, I have a feeling it's going to make it look kind of muddy like the first one.
Yeah. Well, we've had iPhone movies, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the first people to be doing this. I believe Chan-wook Park, the director of Oldboy, and Decision to Leave and countless other great stuff. He actually directed a short film a long time ago called Night Fishing, and it was shot on like an iPhone. I don't know,
I remember that.
Whatever the current iPhone was in 2009.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I do remember that happening. And then wasn't that Steven Soderbergh High Flying Bird movie shot on an iPhone?
Maybe. I know Unsane was, I think.
Okay.
With Claire Foy, which is an underrated Soderbergh movie.
Okay. Oh, good to know. I liked High Flying Bird well enough, but I remember looking at it thinking of like, these angles are bizarre. Like they look like they're stuck to like the wide angle of a phone.
Yeah.
No matter if we're in a close up or a two shot or what.
Mm-hmm. That feels very much like Unsane. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this movie looks, like what these lenses do and everything. So
yeah, cool. All right.
What's your next movie?
So next one is this is the king of my movies that like there's almost no details about, but this is a new Noah Baumbach movie.
Oh,
it's called J. Kelly.
Okay.
And it stars George Clooney, Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, Greta Gerwig, Billy Crudup, Emily Mortimer, Patrick Wilson. A lot of people. I'm skipping over some that are names you would still know.
Yeah, stacked cast.
So yeah, real stacked cast. The Letterboxd description describes it as a funny and emotional coming-of-age story about adults, which I think describes 99% of Noah Baumbach movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
And
it'd be weird if you ever made a movie for children.
Right, yeah. Like, yeah.
It would just be a bunch of depressed kids being like really neurotic.
Yeah, I think the closest you could get is like debating whether or not kids are people just out of college or adults or if they're kids, right? With like kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
That's the closest he's come to making a movie that's not a coming of age story about adults. Well, maybe not the coming of age story part, because I don't know if you could call the what was the like Outbreak movie that he with Adam Driver?
Oh, what was that called? What was that movie called?
I really liked it. White Noise.
White Noise.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that movie a lot.
It wasn't White Noise, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was called White Noise.
Okay, cool. Well, I know that movie, that horror movie, White Noise, came out in like 2004 with Michael Keaton.
Right, because I thought of the same thing, but yes, it is called White Noise.
Okay,
but it's not.
That was blocking me from properly remembering the title of the movie that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's maybe not so much of a coming of age, but it is about adults, and it's funny and emotional. Right, that's the other part. But yeah, that's called J. Kelly. No more details to really give on it. I'm just Noah Baumbach, right? I'm excited.
No details being requested. No worries.
Okay, what's next?
Okay. I'll go for a smaller one that I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, but I'm interested. And it looks kind of depressing, as a lot of indie movies do, but it's called Eric LaRue.
Oh.
And it is the directorial debut of Michael Shannon.
Okay.
Yeah, and it stars Judy Greer and Alexander Skarsgård. And it is about a boy who, I don't know how, but killed 3 classmates at school. And so it's about the parents dealing with that. Or specifically, at least the mother. I don't know if the dad's dealing with it or not. I don't know what's going on. But that's what I know based on the synopsis.
Okay, yeah. So I see this comes out in April. And what's interesting, the IMDb year has it listed as 2023.
Oh, it must be an old movie then.
So the release date is April of this year. So it must be one of those that kind of got stuck trying to get a release.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Well, anyways, I figured I kind of wanted a little bit more indie stuff on here. I've got some bigger movies, so I don't know. And I like Michael Shannon.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like Judy Greer. I like Alison Pill, who's also in this.
Yeah, Alison Pill. She's not in enough stuff.
No, she's not. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the indie thing with this too, because like I think I enjoy talking about 28 Years Later and Mission Impossible, and other things that may pop up. I have like one big one on my list, but people know about those, right? So like I kind of lean towards the unknown when doing this sort of episode. So
sure,
for better or worse.
Yeah, but I like to get, because, you know, we're pretty stuffy podcasts, I think, sometimes with the Criterion stuff. Yeah. The Criterion angle. So I like to, you know, I appreciate genre stuff, you know, when it's good. So if it's like an intriguing action movie or an intriguing horror movie, or it's got some talent behind it, or artists that usually like to try to say something, you know, I like to highlight the genre stuff that rises above the average schlock, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you'll never see me put a John Wick movie on my most anticipated, but you will see me put a Mission Impossible, you know?
Sure, yeah.
Well, but that's unfair because John Wick is technically very brilliantly made, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Not Fast and the Furious or whatever, or like...
Yeah, or Saw 11, which I think we're getting we're getting a Saw 11 or 12 or something this year.
Yeah. And I think I know what your big movie is going to be. And I think it's on my list too, but I'm going to wait for you to get to it.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm going to do it next, like in the spirit of not being so stuffy.
Rip the Band-Aid off so I can know.
But I think you know, I think you do know what it is. But it is Avatar 3 or Avatar Fire and Ash.
Yep. As
Letterboxd lists it. This is on your list, right?
Yep. Well, I mean, it was going to be, it's one of the ones I had to talk about maybe, but I was saving it for you.
Like if I didn't get it? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think in going to the theaters and watching Avatar: The Way of Water, it sort of ignited this love inside me for the Avatar films and the Avatar universe. That while I enjoyed, I mean, I kind of feel like I get really excited thinking about this coming out and like future ones now.
Yeah.
So this is like, I mean, if I were ranking them, this would be my number one. Right.
Okay.
Regardless of how Wes Anderson ends up
regardless of if Wes Anderson's movie is going to feel like a Wes Anderson movie, this would be number one still. Right.
So, anyways, it like I enjoyed the first Avatar. Going to see in theaters was a big spectacle, and I was like, okay, this is really cool. I dig it, but with adding into the lore and the world of like Pandora, and the species, the Na'vi, I believe they're called.
They are. For someone who loves the franchise, you should know that.
I should, yeah. I think I'm just hedging my bets in case I'm wrong, so I don't say something confidently and be incorrect. But anyways, yeah, the Na'vi, learning more about them and the different cultures that they have like on this world. Like, I'm just excited to dive into that more. And I recently rewatched like the first two, just sitting around thinking about them. I was like, man, I got to revisit these just because they're living in my brain now.
Yeah.
In that sort of like, love this saga, love this world.
I
I
want to
think
check in
about
with Jake Sully and
yeah.
I don't remember anyone else's name, but
Yeah. And so, I mean, regardless of how this film turns out, like, just it coming out also gives me another reason to go rewatch the first two again, and I'm very excited about that. So, so yeah, what are your thoughts?
yeah. So I, big James Cameron fan since I was like a little kid. Like, some of the first movies I remember watching as a little kid were James Cameron movies. I didn't know that when I was a little kid, but
Right.
you know, you grow up and you realize that, like, oh, the dude who made the both Terminator movies that were good and, you know, freaking True Lies and you know, just Titanic, you know, banger after banger, Aliens, like, the dude just knows how to make epic, crowd-pleasing, big movies. They're not the deepest things in the world, but he likes to advance technology. He likes to show the audience something they've never seen before. He's patient. He's a perfectionist, you know? Like I don't know if Avatar 2 would have hit the same way if he couldn't push the release date back like 8 years or whatever the hell it was to get it where it needed to be. Like, when you watch those movies, you're seeing CGI and like technology on a level that just like you're not seeing in any other movies, because there's a few reasons. Because James Cameron's very skilled at hiring people and knowing what looks good, but he's got the clout to say it's done when it's done. Whereas, like, you see all this shoddy CGI, you know, that these movies are just being shipped out the door very quickly because these directors don't have the clout to put their foot down and be like, you know, I'm James Cameron. It's done when it's done, you know? And so, even though it's like blockbuster fare, it's blockbuster fare on like a technical quality level that like other stuff just isn't happening with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just looks incredible. It does look better in theaters. The theatrical experience and seeing it in 3D is actually preferable to watching it at home.
Yes, that's true.
And I don't feel that way about any 3D, but Avatar 3D, like, it is better. It is better than watching it without it, you know?
Yeah. It's the, so far to this point, like, the pinnacle that we've achieved in 3D. And
yeah, I would say that's easily true, in my opinion.
Yeah. I've seen other things that look good in 3D, right? Like a lot of animated 3D kind of works, you know, pretty well.
Yeah.
Even the Hobbit, the first one I saw in 3D, and I thought that did some interesting stuff with the whole like 48 frames per second thing. But I still think Avatar's got it beat. Even the first
like Head
one,
and Shoulders, yeah.
Yeah, even the first one, which came out you know, about 10 years or so, maybe a little less than that, before the first Hobbit. I think it still has a beat. It still has most modern 3D beat other than itself. Although I don't know. I mean, is there 3D stuff that is even coming out these days?
No, I think he's the only one trying to keep it alive.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there's 3D showings. Like, I think whenever I was going to see Captain America this last weekend, there was like a 3D option.
Oh, okay.
But it's not as prominent as it once was. Like, now the 3D options are like one screen, like maybe 2 showings a night kind of thing.
Yeah, so it does exist for the diehards.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but yeah, like, it is true that, like, I think the technical innovation and the technical experience is a big factor in the Avatar movies and what makes them great. And you do lose some of that at home, but I think there is enough interesting story, interesting world building, interesting characters.
Yeah, I think the second one starts building the world in a way that starts to feel really fresh compared to, like, the first one. I think could have been a standalone and I could have never wanted more, you know?
Right, yeah.
But now that I know that we are getting more, the way 2 leaves off makes me excited for what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think for that reason, I think the second one is superior to the first.
Okay.
As well.
I mean, I would rather watch the second one than the first. Right now, you know?
Yeah. I think it just feels a little more unique story-wise to me.
Yeah.
Not that
because it's not exactly Dances with Wolves again.
Yeah. And I've never been one to lodge that complaint against the first Avatar either, so like I'm not lodging it now.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with it. I think it's fine. Stories have been retold forever.
Yeah.
But Way of Water is more unique.
It's not a super big complaint, but it is. The comparisons are very there and on the surface.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a fact, but it's not necessarily a fact that alters my opinion.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that's Avatar Fire and Ash. So I believe we're on to both of our last ones. So what's your last one?
Okay. Let's see. I can go with a littler one, or you know what? I'll go with a little action movie that could. Hopefully. That can.
That will.
That can possibly. Yeah, that will. So there's a director that has hit the scene recently named Dan Trachtenberg.
Mm-hmm.
And he directed 10 Cloverfield Lane. He directed, I believe, the first episode of The Boys that kind of set the tone for the series.
Oh, you're right. He did.
Maybe the first couple episodes. I can't remember. And he's done a couple other things. And then he did, most recently, a film that was released straight to Hulu because people thought this franchise was on death's door after 2018's mess. But Prey, he came out with Prey, which is a Predator prequel movie starring Native Americans. Amber Midthunder was the star of that movie, and it got really great reviews. And then afterwards, people were like, "Why did they just dump this on Hulu? That's stupid. You should have given it a little bit of a budget because it was good and well made and like well shot, and you could tell that the action scenes were inspired." You know, which I think you can always tell if an action movie or a genre movie's really worth it with like how creative and how much energy and visceral feeling you get for just simple things like action, like, you know, a quick fight or a run or a chase scene or something, you know? And I feel like Dan Trachtenberg kind of has that. He has the eye. He seems to understand what feels right, you know? I seem to like his sensibilities quite a bit, so I am excited to see what he does with a slightly bigger budget, with something called Predator Badlands, which stars Elle Fanning.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a prequel. I don't know where it fits. I just know that it's not a follow-up to Prey, you know? But apparently it is still a Predator movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I tend to go check out the Predator movies, no matter how good or bad they seem, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think I've ridden the whole spectrum in terms of Predator movies, being good or bad, right?
Yeah. The whole spectrum exists. There's the first one, which is, I guess, the gold standard.
I suppose, yeah.
Then probably Prey, right? Although some people might prefer Prey.
Yeah. I don't know if I prefer Prey, but it's hard to
I don't,
top the
but I'm saying some young person who didn't grow up with Predator might prefer Prey.
Right. I mean, I talk to young people that just like don't want to watch anything old because they think it just is going to look worse and looks worse.
Yeah.
And I would bet Predator would fit in that because it doesn't look as good as
a movie
Prey.
Made in like 1987.
Yeah, on probably a relatively low budget for the time, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked Prey, and the other things you've listed from Dan Trachtenberg are all things that I like. So
yeah, he seems to be able to work within franchises to make something that feels really good and satisfying, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So what's your last movie?
Okay, last one is one from Richard Linklater, who he I don't know if there's a release date for this movie, but I think he tends to put out like a movie a year, roughly.
Sometimes two. I think we're getting 2 movies from Linklater this year, aren't we?
I don't know. Maybe not.
I'll look at it. You keep talking.
Yeah. But the film specifically I'm talking about, and I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, but it's Nouvelle Vague.
Okay, go on.
And this is, it's set in the, I guess, late 1950s in France, around the, like, I'm also going to butcher this pronunciation, the Cahiers de Cinema magazine, with like the film critics that were like Godard and Truffaut, and those sort of French New Wave directors. And apparently it follows the production and pre-production of Breathless of Godard.
Oh, sweet.
And him making that film. So I don't recognize much of the cast here. I guess Zoe Deutsch she's in Zombieland Double Tap. She's like the dumb blonde girl.
Okay.
And she was in Juror Number 2. She played the wife.
Oh, yeah, okay.
She's set to play Jean Seberg.
Cool.
And I don't know if I really recognize anybody else. So, as a fan of film and the Criterion Collection and self-proclaimed probably many times on the podcast of French New Wave being one of my favorite movements, and if you want to call it a genre of film, I have to be on board for this. And I don't know, I not much is known about it, but that's exciting to me, an exciting premise.
Yeah, that is exciting.
And I think Linklater will do something more interesting with it than it feeling like a historical biography or something,
Right. And also,
like
he's got 4 movies in production right now, so I'm sure 2 of them might come out this year.
Yeah, well, that gives me less hope that this one will come out. But I saw it on a most anticipated of 2025 list. So that's kind of, if it was on someone else's list, that's good enough for me. Right.
Yeah. That's a tentative date.
Yeah, exactly. But that was it. So that's it for my 10. Did you have any other ones that you didn't get to mention and just want to shout out really quickly, or any TV either?
Yeah, I got a couple. There is a new Darren Aronofsky movie starring Austin Butler, Vincent D'Onofrio, Zoe Kravitz, and Matt Smith, my boy Matt Smith, called Caught Stealing. And I've seen some set pics around, and Matt Smith looks like an 80s punk with like a mohawk. Mm-hmm. And he looks really cool. So that's exciting. Beautiful. I want to see that. There's a movie coming out from Ryan Coogler starring Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld called Sinners.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I saw that one. That one looked interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but Ryan Coogler, I like most of what he's doing, I liked Creed quite a bit, the first Creed.
Yeah.
So.
I like Sin.
Yeah?
Yeah, doing it, seeing it.
Good.
Anyways.
Well, then it's going to have something for you at least.
Yeah, I hope so. People doing stuff I'm interested in.
Yeah. What else were you maybe going to talk about?
There's the Pixar movie Elio, which I think just Pixar in general, usually on board with, but I found the other Sylvain Chomet film to be a little more interesting and rarer than a Pixar film.
Sure.
And then I think we're supposed to get a new Knives Out, a new Benoit Blanc movie.
Oh yeah. What's
Ryan
it called?
Johnson?
Like Dead Man's
Wake Up Dead Man.
Wake Up Dead Man. Yeah. Okay.
Or
cool.
Wake Up Dead Man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ooh, maybe.
Yeah. So there are those. Those are kind of the big ones, I guess. Like in terms of TV, we have the final season of Righteous Gemstones coming out, which I'm anticipating.
Oh yeah, I didn't even bother looking up TV, so you're catching me off guard here. I don't have anything prepared.
I didn't either. That's just off the top of my head. Like, there's a couple of TV things like that are coming out that I'm very excited about. We're in the midst of Severance, and White Lotus now just started.
Yep.
I'm not sure I have anything beyond that, but I just know Righteous Gemstones is coming out, and I'm excited.
Right. Yeah, me too.
Okay. But
we have Andor coming out.
Oh yeah.
Sometime this year.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that's coming out this year. It just has felt so far away for so long.
Yeah.
For it to be here is weird.
We could get a trailer any day now. But anyways, all right.
Yeah.
I think we did it, right?
Yeah. And that's it. So thank you listener, as always, for listening.
Yeah.
And thanks, Jake Wagner Russell, for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, go to soundcloud.com/bobscotch.
All right. Stay tuned to this channel, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Our next episode will be a Casualty Criterion on It Happened One Night.
Yes. I was curious because I left the question mark in there to make sure that was the episode. If you were going to read it with a question mark. Yeah.
It happened one night?
Yeah. Like Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
But
right,
you are not
anyway.
like Ron Burgundy. You don't read what's on the screen. So Good job.
Sometimes you could put it on the screen and it won't help. I'll just read it badly.
Yeah. I think I've done it to mess with you and you just skipped over it before.
Yeah, like Justin's trying to mess with me.
Yeah.
Give him into his tomfoolery.
You're too sharp. You're too sharp.
Gotta get up pretty early in the morning to make show notes that throw me off.
Yeah, well, we record in the afternoon, so it's difficult.
You gotta get up early to prepare them.
Yeah, okay. I'll keep that in mind for next time. But until then, I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye. Hey guys, in this week's Casual Cinecast, we are going to talk about... Oh, shit.
Nailed it.